You're live. That's what YouTube tells me, so yeah, I have no reason to not believe YouTube that I'm live. Anyway, last Friday of June, I woke up like 2 hours ago, pretty much exactly 2 hours ago. I woke up at around 2:15 in the afternoon because I'm not an early bird in the slightest. And it dawned on me that I didn't stream at all this month, and this was the last Friday of the month, so I was like, yeah, I guess I have to do a stream today. Well, not that I have to, I don't really owe anyone anything when it comes to this channel, but hey, I like doing streams, and I have committed to doing one stream on a random Friday every month, so whatever. And so I'm live today. Still happy about the Zoron win. I was going to title this stream "Still Happy," but in light of recent Supreme Court rulings, or literally Supreme Court rulings from today, figured that wouldn't be the most appropriate title. Leave it to this country to, squander any happiness you've previously had, or there's some little bit of good news, and then you have this big chunk of bad news completely snuff it out. Well, not snuff it out, but take your mind off of it and remind you of just how sucky this country is and world in general. How are you doing today? I am doing okay. Yeah, just okay. Yeah, pretty much every day for me. Nothing out of the ordinary or nothing extravagant happens, but that's all right. I think it's better to have, boring, low key days than to have, a string of bad days where, things do happen, but they're not good things. Why can't I zoom in on the chat? I don't want to look at my face. I finally got a haircut a few weeks ago. Got it around the beginning of this month. I actually got it at my own volition. I haven't argued with my mom about my hair in like at least 3 years now, so that's not really an issue. But now my hair was getting really fucking annoying. I've been wanting to cut it since at least April. Just been putting it off because I never like getting a haircut. Who the fuck is calling me? Yeah. Scam likely, yeah. That's a surefire way to never get me to answer a call. Anyway, my hair was getting really annoying. It kept going in my face, and then the weather started getting more hot, and so we brought the fans out. And when the fan would blow in my face, my hair would also get in my face. And yeah, the reason I was putting off getting a haircut is because honestly, I never liked getting a haircut. I mean, I always put it off until I just can't stand the long hair anymore. Um, I guess you can attribute it to autism because I also get a full clean shave on top of getting a haircut, and I never like it when when the barber is touching my face or touching my hair on top of that. So that's why I always just put off getting a haircut. And also I just like longer hair in general, but like I said, I just couldn't stand my hair getting in my face anymore. Oh my stars. I don't know what that's referring to. I was sleeping all day. That's what I do every day. Sleep until afternoon because I don't like waking up early in the morning. Never my thing. How are you, Mikey? Well, I said I'm doing all right. As good as I can be, I suppose. Thankfully, I'm in an air-conditioned house, so I didn't have to suffer the extreme heat wave NYC and a lot of the Northeast or East in general has gotten this week. Well, it did cool down a lot today. It's only 71 degrees, and it's not humid, so thank God for that. Though we still have the AC on, but we probably should turn off the AC today. I think also this weekend it's not going to be that hot either. So. But next week is going to be hot again. Not as hot as it was a few days ago when it hit 100 fucking degrees or 101 degrees, I believe. Yeah. Well, again, I don't have much. I don't really have much to say when it comes to complaining about that because I've been indoors in an air-conditioned house. So thankfully, thankfully, I didn't have to suffer the heat wave. But yeah, it's been brutally hot in NYC the last few days, barring today. But maybe the heat wave was a good thing because literally the hottest day, and I think 15 years here in NYC was on election day of all days, or primary day, I should say, the Democratic primary for the mayoral election here in NYC. Maybe God does exist. I'm sure that deterred a lot of Cuomo voters from going to the polls, which helped Mamdani pull off the victory he did. I still can't get over that, dude. Like, it was a shoo-in for Cuomo. All the polls were saying it was going to be Cuomo plus 10, or like the outlier optimistic polls in favor of Mamdani still had Mamdani winning by only like maybe 2 points, and he would eke out the victory in the final round. But no, the first fucking round, he is 7 points ahead of Cuomo. Well, actually, they didn't finish the tabulation for the first round, I believe. I don't know if it's updated yet. Results. Last I saw, it was still like, I think, around 91 or 92% of the vote counted for the first round. That's still 93. But still, Zoran got 432,000 votes so far. And again, the first round hasn't finished counting. They haven't finished counting for the first round yet. Cuomo got 361,000 votes. Yeah, Zoran is about 7 points ahead of Cuomo. That is just amazing. It really goes to show if you care about your constituents and run a campaign that makes it clear that you care about your constituents and run on actual policy instead of just, running on name recognition and barely running a fucking campaign, thinking you're a shoo-in, you could defeat all odds and pull off a major victory no one saw coming. Take the L, Cuomo, indeed. It's just so glorious to see NYC voters just reject, do nothing, establishment Democrats. Good things do happen sometimes, and it was in my city on top of that where for once a good thing did happen. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I was looking at the results on election night, when it was clear that Mamdani was gonna win and there was no path of victory for Cuomo because Lander got over 100,000 votes, 112,000 votes, according to the New York Times. And of course, Mamdani and Lander cross-endorsed each other, so a lot of those Lander votes are going to go to Mamdani in the final round. And same thing with a lot of the other candidates on the ballot. A lot of their votes are going to go to Mamdani, so the gap is going to be surely much bigger between Mamdani and Cuomo when the final results are in. I was looking at those results. I was legit tearing up a little. I didn't like full on cry, but I was like, holy shit, a good thing happened. And in my city on top of that. It was a lot for me to take in, to be honest. What's up? What's up, Robert? How are you doing today? Not a New Yorker, but I'm extremely happy Mamdani won the primary. Hope everything is smooth sailing to November. Well, I wouldn't say things will be smooth sailing for Mamdani. I mean, you already have the media uh, in droves, like trying to smear Mamdani as an anti-Semite, which they were already doing before the primary. But I'm sure that's going to ramp up to that's going to the dial is going to be cranked up to 11 now. Now that he won the primary, you're going to see smear after smear from establishment media, probably the Democratic establishment. I'd imagine regular dumb lib voters who can't accept that some a left wing populist won a mayoral primary in a major city like NYC. And of course, MAGA, but that's to be expected. I mean, fuck, if Cuomo won, they would still be calling Cuomo a communist. So I don't really take what MAGA says that seriously. Well, at least regular MAGA voters, the MAGA base. I mean, now you have like fucking Republican politicians calling for Mamdani to be deported. So that's another thing that's scary and worrying. What campaign did Cuomo even run? He didn't run a fucking campaign. Like I said, he just ran on name recognition. I'm Andrew Cuomo. I was your governor. My name uh, has a long-standing history here in the state with my father and my family. A long line of, his, a long history in New York politics. Wasn't Andrew Cuomo also in Clinton's administration, I believe? So he tried to coast on name recognition. He didn't run a campaign because he thought he had this in the bag. But turns out voters want something else. They don't want the same boring status quo establishment Democrats. I mean, you would think the Democratic Party would take the hint after 2024. But no, they didn't take the hint. They're not going to take the hint because they're slaves to their donors. The only time you see any amount of effort from this party is to squash progressive campaigns and candidates because they're a threat to capital. They're big money donors, they're corporate donors, they're billionaire donors. Don't want, regular people, the working class to, you know, finally realize that the problem with this country isn't trans people or any dumb culture war bullshit like that is meant to divide the working class, but rather the billionaires who leech off the working class and try to pit the working class against each other. And so they don't want candidates that, try to direct the anger of the working class in the right direction towards billionaires, towards corporations, and actually try to make their lives a candidate that actually wants to make their lives better, which is a threat to the status quo, a threat to these corporations, and a threat to these billionaires. So they want to squander any campaign like Bernie's or what they tried to do with Mamdani's campaign and failed. But again, it's just so great to see it didn't work out this time around. The fucking B-52 heavy bomber just flew over my house. Well, that's something. Did we go to war? Did I miss the big announcement? I just got home from the store with a sandwich and soda. Soda. I mean, sandwiches are nice. Well, I mostly have like jelly sandwiches or PB&J sandwiches. But Soda, I don't drink. I've talked about this before, I think, but I've just never liked soda. I've had soda, and a couple of times, like at family gatherings or parties, if there's nothing else to drink. But overall, I've never been a soda person or pop. I know there's a big contention over whether you call soda soda or pop. But I'm from the East Coast, so it's called soda here. Anyway, but yeah, I just never really cared for soda. It's always funny seeing people argue over Pepsi and Coke when I have had both. Not often, but it tastes like the same shit to me. I'm sure there are differences, of course, but I have soda so on such a rare occasion that when I do drink a Coke or when I do drink a Pepsi, it's pretty much the same thing to me. The weather is also so cool today after that heat wave. Yeah, I know the heat wave was brutal. I mean, again, I've been indoors in an air conditioned house, so I haven't had to suffer the heat wave like many other people I have. Uh, like many other people have, I'm sure. But I mean, yeah, it was brutally hot this week. Ugh. I mean, next week isn't going to be that much better. Let me pull up the weather app. Oh wait, I stand corrected. Whoa. Monday 72, Tuesday 75, Wednesday 74, Thursday 74, Friday 68. And next week July begins. When was the last time we had that kind of weather in July? Early July. Like usually by this time of the year, every day is in like the mid to high 90s. Same thing with like the entirety of July. I'm not complaining. I fucking hate the heat. I usually sleep very good. I usually get very good sleep, I should say. But if it's like really hot outside and we don't have the AC on, that's when I struggle sleeping. Like there have been times like last year, by like May, there were some nights, well, nights I go to sleep in morning, at like 6 in the morning. So I shouldn't say night, but you get what I mean. There were times where I would struggle sleeping for like fucking 4 hours and then get like 2 hours of sleep at most. It was miserable because of the heat, and we didn't have the AC on yet, so I just kind of suffered trying to sleep in the heat. Oh wait, no, I stand corrected. I'm a fucking dumbass. I was looking at the low temperature for next week. I didn't scroll over to where the high temperature was. No, Sunday 89, Monday 89, Tuesday 88, Wednesday 88, Thursday 89, Friday 83. So yeah, next week is. I mean, next week is still definitely going to be more tolerable than this week was. I'm sure, but it's still going to be very hot next week. Unfortunately. I mean, next Friday won't be too bad. Well, at least depending on the humidity, 83 isn't that bad. Probably flew over because I live in the general region of two air bases. Well, there you go. That's probably why a fucking bomber flew over your house. Yeah, it was like if Iran bombed us, which yeah, I don't think they're ever gonna bomb this country, but they did do that. I think I would have heard about that. I loved PB and J's as a kid and still do, but I love Italian subs now. Yeah, I'm a basic guy. I still like making PB and J sandwiches from time to time. Used to eat PB and J every day when I was in elementary school. My mom would make it for me, but by the time I was in middle school, I was getting I would just bring like a bag of chips with me. Imagine if Bernie won and became president earlier instead of Trump/Biden. Yeah, then we probably wouldn't be in the mess we're in now. But unfortunately, the DNC rat fucked Bernie, and look at where we are now. Ugh. There's a Japanese soda called Ramune soda. Probably butchered the pronunciation of that. My apologies. I've drank it twice and it was good. Yeah, I've only ever had the usual suspects: Pepsi, Coke. Again, because there were times I was at parties and such, and that was like the only shit to drink. Anyone else drink orange juice all the time? Because I do that. Orange juice has always been my go-to drink ever since I was, well, pretty much ever since I can even fucking remember anything. I've been drinking orange juice. I remember a few years ago my mom telling me when she was pregnant with me, she craved oranges a lot. That's probably where it came from. I was in the AC those 3 days. Yeah, same. My mom's office, she told me, and I've been to her office a few times, so I do kind of know how cold it is in her office. But she told me her AC was on full blast the entire week, and she said actually when she stepped outside in the blistering heat, it was refreshing because she was so cold in her office. So lucky her, I suppose. A few weeks ago, we had really, really bad humidity. The temperature wasn't so bad. I think it was at like the low 80s, but the humidity was just unbearable. And we didn't turn on the AC yet. We just had the windows open, but it was miserable. Fucking miserable. That humidity. It was all building up to a really bad rainstorm we had a few weekends ago. And then after that, the humidity dropped by a lot. But yeah, we had like 3 days of miserable humidity with no AC. So that was pretty awful. PepsiCo and Coca-Cola supports Israel, by the way. Well, I mean, well, I never drink. I don't buy soda, so I guess my conscience is clear to that. Though I do purchase some products that are owned by uh, Pepsi and Coke companies, I suppose. But I mean, when it comes to like food and beverages and such, I mean, I don't I don't know if most people are really looking into what causes those companies support. Not that I say I condone them supporting Israel, but I mean, I don't think you can reasonably boycott every single company that supports a cause that you're against. I mean, at least when it comes to like, more, well, I shouldn't say necessities. You don't have to drink soda or eat chips or whatever other products these companies make, but you know, I mean, I do support boycotts to an extent, but I'm also not going to lambaste someone for like drinking a Pepsi or drinking a Coke because they're such like ubiquitous beverages, and you can't really expect everyone to really look into what causes the companies behind those products support. But when it comes to like completely frivolous things like video games, the stuff that are actually not necessities at all, like for example, Hogwarts Legacy. I mean, J.K. Rowling was touting like a month ago that she used the proceeds she received from that game to, fund anti-trans causes and lawsuits and such. Yeah, that's when I'm like, yeah, you most certainly do not need to play Hogwarts Legacy. So boycotting that game was like the fucking bare minimum you can do. Last night was great. It was 59 and I had my window open. Yeah, I mean, we don't have the windows open still because we still have the AC on. Like I said, we probably should turn off the AC because today is perfectly fine. There's no humidity. It's breezy. I did open my window briefly just to because I wanted to know what how it was outside, and I felt a little breeze coming through my window. And I was like, why the fuck do we have the AC on? No purpose to have it on today. Or I think Saturday and Sunday it's gonna be in the mid to high 80s, so maybe tomorrow should have it on, but certainly not today. This is like the one break we get. Today is like the one break we get from the fucking blistering heat, and then we get what you would usually expect by this time of the year. Temperatures in the mid to high 80s. Blech. Again, I don't like the heat. I don't like summer weather. Literally, the only thing I liked about summer when I was a kid was summer vacation. That was the only thing that made me happy about summer. Other than that, I do not like uh, s- summer weather. I love chocolate milk. I very rarely have have drank chocolate milk. I mean, I didn't hate chocolate milk those few times I had drank chocolate milk, but uh, I don't know, milk in general. I just never really cared for. Orange juice is good based. I love orange juice. I like drinking refreshing drinks in general. I always dream of making my own juice or soda. Well, I mean, if you can dream it, you can do it, I suppose. Don't let follow your dreams. Make your own brand of juice or soda or whatever you want to make. But my favorite drinks are smoothies. It's been a long time since I had a smoothie. Want to know? Here's something I should have one of these days: an ice cream. I'm a simple guy. I like just plain vanilla ice cream the most. But I live right by a Carvel. I should stop by there one of these days and get myself an ice cream, especially since it's gonna be so fucking hot this upcoming week. Again, not as brutal as this week, but it's still gonna be pretty hot. Unfortunately, should get myself an ice cream. Can't believe it's almost July already. This year is going by so fast. I can't even think straight. Yeah, I know. It's surreal how fast this year is going. I mean, for me, every year goes by fast, which is, I guess, a little alarming because I don't want time to go by that fast. But yeah, this year has just zoomed by. Like, it felt like 1 minute we're in January, and now the next minute we're here in June, the end of June. I mean, we're just a few days away from July. Wow. It's also a little somber because July 5th, next Saturday, is going to mark 1 year since one of the uncles I live with, had a stroke. Pretty major one. I'm not going to go into like um, huge detail, but yeah, he had a stroke last July, July 5th. A very serious one, and he is still bound to a bed, and he's not going to walk again. Unfortunately, he lived in a rehabilitation. He was in a rehabilitation facility for 6 months until his, uh, until his insurance didn't want to pay for it anymore, and now he lives with us. We're trying our best with him. You know, he calls me whenever he needs something. He gets physical therapy here too, a couple of times a week. But yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to make that much progress when it comes to walking. Well, I mean, should have listened to his doctor, who was warning him about, him not taking his blood pressure medication when he had diabetes and high blood pressure, and instead he wanted to fucking listen to people like Dr. Oz, who was pushing alternative medicine. Look how that ended up for him. But, can't change the past, unfortunately. But honestly, it's fine in a way because this year has mostly sucked for me. Well, I mean, in terms of current events, yes, this year has been really, really, really awful. Save for the, one big major piece of good news from the other night, Mom Donnie winning. Hell yeah. But yeah, this year has been pretty dismal when it comes to current events. But in terms of my personal life, 2025 honestly hasn't been that bad. I mean, nothing major has happened, good or bad. And I'll take, a boring, mundane year so far, at least, over, a year like last year, 2024, where like tragic event after tragic event kept fucking happening. Charlie dying, a family member of mine dying, my uncle getting a stroke, an online friend passing away, Trump winning the 2024 election. It's just like horrible shit after horrible shit last year. And yeah, this year again, barring current events, again, I know most news that has been happening in 2025 has been awful. But in terms of my personal life, nothing too terrible has happened so far this year. Not to jinx anything, hopefully, because we still have the back half of 2025 remaining. But so far, 2025 hasn't been that bad for me. And knock on wood, well, my laptop isn't wood, but you get what I mean. Uh, it remains decent. I bought a Sprite cherry lime today. Oh yeah, Sprite. I think I've had Sprite on a few occasions. It's mostly my two uncles here in the house that are big soda drinkers. I remember my mom when I was a kid. She used to drink soda all the time. She would usually buy a bottle of Pepsi that she would drink on pretty much a daily basis, but she cut back on soda a lot. Like, I don't know, probably around 10 years ago. Because she wanted to fix up her diet a little bit and monitor better what she was drinking. I also hear in the Rockies of Montana, and Wyoming, there were still snowstorm warnings. Yeah, I mean, mountain areas are pretty different from here. Very different weather. Crazy to think that in the midst of the heat wave we just had, there are other places in the world that are just fucking brutally cold and getting snow. Quite the contrast. I really like summer, cool drinks, fruit, water activities, ice cream, and nice weather, but I really hate the heat. I don't blame you. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, here in NYC, usually by late June and all of July and most of August, it gets really fucking hot, and it's pretty miserable. And I've never been a beach guy or anything, so I'm not one to really, be in a rush to go out and do something in the midst of, really hot weather. Summer rain. I like rainy days. I don't know. No, yeah, that's another thing we differ on. I don't like rainy days all that much. I don't like gloomy days in general. Um, I mean, today it's not gloomy per se, but it's been cloudy all day, and it's going to be cloudy for the remainder of the day, I believe. I, I like days where there's blue skies and you know the sun shining. I mean, like a few months ago, we were having like a here in NYC. There was like a string of rainy days where like I think pretty much the whole week, every day, it was a rainy day. I didn't like that all too much. I mean, the weather to some degree kind of fucks with my mood. Like if it's a gloomy day or we have like a long string of gloomy days, it does kind of bring down my mental health a little bit because obviously you associate the rain and gloomy days with negative emotions and again, I really like it when the sun is out and there's blue skies and beautiful days in general. I much prefer over gloomy, rainy days. This year has been mostly terrible. In February, I got an awful cold, and my mom had to go to the hospital for pneumonia. Oh wow! Hope your mother's all right. Probably from the cold back then, and I've been dealing with bad mental health. Well, I'm very sorry that you're going through all of that. And hopefully things will get better for you. And also, I hope your mother is okay with the pneumonia or the pneumonia scare. I remember a few years ago, almost 2 years ago, I think it was around August or September of 2023. My mother, she was already not feeling too good. She took a few days off of work because she wasn't feeling good. She didn't know exactly what was wrong with her, but she knew that there was something wrong, that something didn't feel right, and she scheduled a doctor's appointment and she took a few days off of work, like I said. But one day she woke up, it was like 8 in the morning, and she felt she felt tightness and some pain in her chest, and she thought for sure it was a heart attack. She called the ambulance, and I didn't know about any of this until I woke up because, again, I sleep until noon, fall asleep at like fucking 6 in the morning, and wake up at 2 in the afternoon. Anyway, um, so that was very scary. When I woke up, my uncle told me, "Oh, your mom went to the hospital." I was like, Is she okay?" And he was like, "I don't know." She felt some tightness and pain in her chest, but fortunately, it wasn't a heart attack. Like, we're all scared it was. Um, it was She had a thyroid problem that she's had sorted out uh, by this point. She was also having some uh, trouble with her hand, which also had to do with the thyroid issue she had. But thankfully, she's doing much better now. And like 10 years ago, she had anemia, which that was very scary. She had to have a blood transfusion. She had to stay overnight at the hospital. But again, thankfully, she recovered from that, and she's doing much better these days. To be honest, I get anxious about the future of the world, whether if it's an asteroid hitting Earth, terrible policies this government might implement, climate change, etc. Well, I wouldn't fret over an asteroid hitting Earth just yet. I mean, I know there was that fucking news story from a few months ago, fear mongering about I think a meteor hitting Earth that I made a short on. I remember. Um, well, I mean, it's touted to be a city killer asteroid or meteor, whatever it is. I think it was called an asteroid. Uh, yeah, asteroid. Um, but who knows if it's actually going to hit Earth? I mean, it's 2032. Any time between now and then, it could change course. But personally, I'm not like fucking thinking about an asteroid hitting this planet. But when it comes to this government and how we're seemingly just spiraling into fascism, well, not seemingly, we are. That makes up a lot of my worry when it comes to the future of this country, the future of this world, and the future in general. I mean, fucking just got a Supreme Court ruling today. Um, yes, Supreme Court birthright citizenship case limits judges' use of nationwide injunctions. Yeah, Trump got a big win today when it comes to what he dubs a big win when it comes to attacking birthright citizenship. So that's been kind of at the forefront of my mind today when it comes to current events. Like I said at the beginning of this stream, we just got some amazing news the other night with Mamdani's win, and leave it to this country to completely squander any bit of good news you get with a big dose of horrible news. I guess it's just polar weather. Here it's summer, but on the other side it's winter. Very interesting. Yeah, that's always interested me. Like Australia, they have completely opposite seasons to us. When it's summer here, it's winter there. It's crazy to think that when it's Christmas time for them, it's they're like in the they're in summer. I hate the heat with a burning passion. A burning passion. I see what you did there. If that was intentional. No, yeah, I hate the heat too. Again, most nights I sleep very well, but if the heat is just too unbearable or the humidity is just too unbearable, I have trouble sleeping. And that's really why I dread this part of the year the most. That's the main reason why I dread this part of the year because it's usually the time of the year I get the worst sleep. I slept very well last night because the AC is on, and on top of that, it wasn't hot at all last night. Actually, pretty breezy from what I've heard, and the temperature was low. But if say there's a day where it's like in the high 80s or just the humidity is horrible, and we don't have the AC on, I'm more prone to not get any sleep. It's awful. But this year isn't nearly as bad as last year when it came to that. For some reason, last year it kept having these string of days or nights. Well, actually days because I go to sleep in the morning. Where I just get hardly any sleep at all. It was miserable. But thankfully this year, I mean, there were a couple of times I didn't get um great sleep, but it not nearly as constant as it was last year. Sometimes in late August, I find myself thinking about mountains and stuff like that. May I ask why late August specifically? Did you like have a trip or something one year in late August, and that had something to do with mountains, and you attribute that time of the year with mountains? Thanks, man. She is past that now. It wasn't severe, thankfully. She was out in a few days. Well, that's good to know. Glad your mother is doing better now. My mom also had a doctor's appointment around the time, and the doctor said she needed to be in the ER, and that's how we found out. Yeah, well, at least she found out before it could get any worse, and then a good thing she took action when she did. It's really scary how this country is speed running into fascism. Yeah, I know it's horrible, and a lot of the this country's voter base is just like, oh, whatever in response to it. And you also get a scary amount of freaks who are cheering it on. Like I was watching a news clip about the Supreme Court decision today, regarding birthright citizenship and injunctions and such, and like the entire comment section was just MAGA cheering it on. They're like, "Yep, get these foreigners out. It's time we got them out of this country." It's just disgusting. I forgot meteors and comets also exist, but even with those, I get anxious. Yeah, there's a difference when it comes to size, I believe. Every time I do something I get anxious because if it actually happens, I'll never do the things I love. Well, this is my philosophy. I try not to think about the passage of time or my inevitable death. Well, not to say my death will come anytime soon. Well, I mean, hopefully. I mean, never know. One day I could just get hit by a truck or some shit, but let's not dwell on that. I try not to think about stuff like that too often. I mean, there are some times where I do think about my mortality because, that's just, I mean, death is inevitable and you're going to think about it, at least, to a certain extent on a few occasions. But, my philosophy is really just, I have a finite amount of time on this earth. My life is not going to last forever. May as well make the most of what I have and, make most of the good things I have in my life. And, enjoy the things that I do enjoy to, the fullest extent. And that's also why I don't like dwelling on the past all too much. It's why I don't like nostalgia for the most part. Life is too short to dwell on the past so much, and you know, it's especially too short to think that your good days are already behind you when you don't fucking know that. You don't know what the future holds. You don't know how good the future could potentially be. At least your own personal future. When it comes to like the future of this country, I don't know. But in terms of my personal life, I try to look forward instead of dwelling on the past or dwelling on the fact that someday I will die. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully not soon, but you never know, and that's why you gotta make you just gotta make do with what you have and enjoy what you have while you still can. Keep getting YouTube notifications. Should probably turn notifications off when I'm streaming because I just it always distracts me. Got some Discord notifications. Uh, E-drama. Someone shared something there. Another message. Don't know who she is, but rest in peace. Someone died apparently, I guess. I'm not gonna look into look at what exactly those messages are, what the context of them are right now. And when it comes to my mental health, I recently started a new medication and it has helped me in some ways, but it takes like 2 to 4 weeks to fully get into my system. Yeah, medication can take time to fully kick in. Like for example, my uncle who had a stroke, he's on various different medications, but one of the medications he is on is Prozac. He was already prone to depression before the stroke, but you know, obviously, his depression is worsened. A lot of things regarding his mental health is worsened after the stroke, which, I mean, is common for stroke victims. Any mental health issues they already faced prior to having a stroke can exacerbate after a stroke. And one of those things that has exacerbated is his depression, which, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, fuck, I would never want to be in his situation where, I'm never going to walk again and, had a major stroke. I'd imagine that would make anyone, even if they were like, the most happy go lucky person prior to their stroke, horribly depressed. Anyway, um, yeah, he's on Prozac, and I believe his doctor who prescribed the Prozac said it would take like 2 to 4 weeks to kick in, and yeah, it definitely did. He was first prescribed Prozac, and I think, well, not he was getting depression medication when he was in a rehabilitation facility, but then we had to get prescriptions all over again when he was back home and in our care. It's a whole process that I don't want to like bore you with the details of here, but the short and sweet of it, he was prescribed Prozac. It took like 2 weeks for it to kick in at least, and he was still crying and having horrible mood swings and very irritable, which was all common, which is all which can happen as a result of depression. And that was difficult to deal with when it was at its worst. But when the Prozac finally kicked in, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks after he first started taking it, he started to mellow out. And socialize with the people I love and depend on. I had to comment this because of the damn character limits in the YouTube chat live chat section. Yeah, I know. There have been times where I've typed in other people's live streams, and that sometimes I have so much to say, and that fucking character limit doesn't allow me to post um, entirely what I want to say. Usually, I just force myself to shorten my comment. I don't participate in other people's streams all that often, though. I mean, I watch streamers like Vosh, but I don't watch them live. I just watch the segments that are uploaded onto his channel. I don't really care about live streams, which I mean is ironic because I'm literally live streaming right now. But when it comes to watching other people's live streams, I mean, I don't really care for that format. I think it's because of a song I heard around the time, and some lyrics were "Up on the mountains we're so high," meaning weed. What song was it? If you remember the name of it. I'm hoping 2026 is a much better year for me and my mom have also been me and my mom have also been talking about moving to another part of the state, another county. I've known people who have moved several times in their lives. I have a friend who just last year moved to Long Island, who he used to live here in NYC, but he moved to Long Island a year ago, like I said. Which kind of sucks because that friend is further away now. I mean, he's not that far away, but still. Anyway, like I said, I know people who have moved at several points of their life. Meanwhile, me, I have lived in the same house my entire life. People say I'm lucky because the moving process is, at least from their experience, is awful. Which I mean, I'll take them. I believe them. I mean, the moving process does seem like it's fucking miserable. I'm hoping 2026 is a much better year for me. Me and my mom have also been talking about. Oh, I just read that. That the chat moved up a little, so I thought that was a message I didn't read. Good evening, Michael Mikey. Good evening to you, Danny. Well, I mean, I guess it is technically evening. It's 5 in the afternoon, or 5 p.m., I should say. At least it's it's almost evening time for me. Is it the Michaela Rains from Save a Fox? Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, she died from suicide due to bullying from the internet and various mental health issues like autism, BPD, etc., borderline personality disorder. I do not know who this Michaela person is. I don't know what Save a Fox is. I just saw on my Discord server someone mentioned that someone died, and I didn't actually open Discord to see what they were talking about. So I don't know if it's referring to that or something else, but regardless, that's really awful. What were they like a common target on the internet? So I don't like So I don't like, for example, lolcow culture. Pointing and laughing at people. Especially people who are like on the spectrum or have very obvious mental health problems, like Chris Chan, for example. I mean, she's done her own share of horrendous things, like what she did with her mother some years ago that I'd rather not talk about or repeat in this stream. But a lot of her mental health problems, from what I've heard, were exacerbated from the harassment she has received for like what 20 years at this point from the internet. It's just like easily the most pathetic harassment campaign and drawn out harassment campaign I've ever seen online. And bullying people and harassing people with mental health problems has always been a problem here on the internet, because a lot of people on the internet have no fucking compassion at all. They just see someone with very obvious mental health problems, and they decide to you know um see that person as a punching bag, and if that person freaks out, "Ugh, it's so funny." I don't know if that was the case with this Michaela person. I don't know if they were a lol cow or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, that whole culture of bullying people or harassing people and making fun of them, because they may have some very obvious mental health issues, and maybe they don't react the best to that harassment because of the mental health problems they face. And so the internet wants to take advantage of that because, oh, it makes for good content. It's so funny seeing this person freak out uh, due to the harassment they're at the brunt of. It's disgusting. Again, that's why I don't really pay attention to the whole lolcow sphere here online. I mean, Boogie2988, I guess, is somewhat of an exception because, I mean, one, he brought that all upon himself. Two, he was a very prominent YouTuber like 10 years ago, and it's just fascinating to see how much he has fallen from grace. And I mean, for as much of a piece of shit as Boogie is, I guess I should commend him on some level, because he does seem to take all of the shit he receives online in stride. He seems to have like fully embraced the lolcow thing. I mean, he's on that fucking podcast with Keemstar and that Wings guy and Tommy what's his face and DSP and whatever other fucking lolcow loser is on that podcast. But again, I don't pay attention to that whole thing because it's just really gross in my eyes. Yeah, sure, these people may have done bad things. Yeah, sure. There may be like legitimate reasons to go after some of these people, but a lot of it is just, look at how much of a loser this person is, or look at this person's very obvious mental health problems. Let's make fun of them for that, for things that are beyond their control. But even with Boogie, it's not like I fucking keep tabs on him every day or something like that. Like once every few months, maybe I'll check in on what he is doing. Or, of course, if there's like a big scandal going on, which, is like, something that happens at least once a year with Boogie, then I'll pay attention to that. But other than that, yeah, I don't fucking pay attention to the guy all that much. What was I talking about? Just going these fucking multi-minute long rambles, and then I forget what the rambles even stemmed from. Oh yeah, this Michaela person. May Michaela rest in peace. I heard about the Michaela story. Yeah, it's awful what happened to them. Even though I don't know who they were. With my depression, I was irritable, paranoid, and not talking much, and feeling numb in my hands and feet. When I'm depressed, I don't know if this is a common symptom of depression, but when I feel depressed, I mean, yeah, one, my mental health feels like shit, but that's just depression 101. But I also feel tired. Like I just feel devoid of energy. Like I don't want to do anything else besides like sit down or lay down because my current mood is weighing down on me so much to the point where I don't really want to do anything. That's uh that's my relationship with depression for the most part. Yo, hello, bother me none. How you doing? What do you think of divine command theory or the theological theory for morality? Isn't that one? Do you think your actions are dictated by God or whatever? I mean, I'm not the best when it comes to stuff like this, but I think that's my understanding of it at least. And I'm an agnostic. I don't believe in a God, so I don't really buy into that at all. I really think any. Um, I don't really buy into theology that much at all in general. I think we are in control of our own actions, and it's not, a god or any other fucking divine figure or anything of the sort that plays a part in our actions. I think it's a form of, wanting to feel like we're special or wanting to feel like we have some kind of, purpose beyond just, us just happening to exist. We want to feel special. We want to feel like we have a purpose in life. And, not to say life is completely purposeless. I don't want to I don't want to say that. But, a lot of people want to think like from the second they're born, they have some purpose to fulfill. And so they like turn to God or turn to theology in general to try to find that purpose when, I think it's just kind of the wrong avenue. I think it's the wrong avenue to turn to. You yourself carve out your purpose. You yourself dictate your own actions. Take credit for, the choices you make and the actions that, you know, that occur as a result, or the things that happen as a result of your actions. There's no outside influence besides just yourself when it comes to, the path you take in your life. We're possibly moving an hour out to west of Jersey in a better neighborhood with a better environment than here. Well, I mean, if the move is going to be good in the long run, like you're going to be in a better era than the one you're in now, then it should be a positive experience. I mean, I'm sure the moving process will still be difficult, but um, it'll probably be worth it in the long run if you're going to be in a better area. Moved out of my parents' house last year. Nice. Not the only time we moved. My current home is the second house I've lived in since I was 12. This September will mark 10 years since we moved here. Wow. And again, I've spent all my 24 years in the same house. Not that I'm complaining. I really like this house and, it's all that I'm used to. So if or when I do move someday, it's going to be a really hard transition for me, I'm sure. Especially, with my autism and me not adapting well to new situations and changes. Like, I mean, just for example, a few years ago, we had major renovation downstairs. The downstairs of our house looks completely different to how it looked before. There's some old videos of mine I took in that showcases what some of what the downstairs looked like that are on this channel. But my downstairs looks completely different now, and it was hard to adjust to at first. And no, I've since adjusted. This was in 2021 we had this renovation, so 4 years ago now. That was miserable though. We didn't have a downstairs for like a month and a half, and I didn't get any sleep because of all the construction that was going on downstairs. starting at like I think 7 in the morning. Ugh. But thankfully, that's over now. I did do a video on my side channel a few years ago, showcasing like the well, it wasn't finished. The renovation was still far from finished when I made that video, but wanted to showcase that we were in the middle of renovating the downstairs, but never did make a follow-up video showing off the completed renovation. Maybe I should record that someday, one of these days, maybe. I mean, I haven't uploaded shit to my side channel since what, like 2023, probably. There was a subreddit dedicated to harassing her called Save a Fox Snark 2, and after the news broke out, the subreddit was scrubbed and a mod deleted their account. May I ask what this lady did to deserve the? Well, I mean, I'm sure they didn't do anything to deserve the level of harassment they got, but like, why did these people not like? Why did this subreddit not like this person? Is what I'm asking. Like, were they like part of were they like were they the subject of like several different controversies or something? I moved out of my mom's house last January. I lived in the same house between January 2015 and January 2025. So exactly 10 years. That's interesting. Exactly 10 years you lived in the same house. But yeah, like I said, I know people who have moved at several points in their lives. I know one person who moved, I think like 4 or 5 times. And it was just something they were used to, you know. They said at one point when they were a kid, like every few years they'd move to different houses. Their family would move to different houses. And I just thought, wow, can't imagine doing that because I've lived in the same house my entire life. And like I said, they said people I know in my personal life who have moved say I'm lucky to have never moved. Because I guess the moving process is just that bad. I don't know. I guess it depends on how much stuff you have. We had a new family move into the cul-de-sac like a year ago. Their kids like to play outside in the cul-de-sac very often. There's also one house that has had a moving pod in front of it for like I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years at this point. First, we thought they were moving, but I guess they just have that there for storage. It's just been sitting in their driveway for the longest time. I'm not sure if it happened on lolcow, but all I know is that Reigns got bullied online. Yeah, again, that's terrible. I mean, it's always unfortunate. It's always horrible hearing that, you know, someone has taken their life as a result of the bullying they have received online. And unfortunately, you know, it's still gonna present. It's still gonna happen. I mean, what was it like? 15 years now. The Amanda Todd story. You know, she died as a result, partially because of cyberbullying, but also because some fucking freak was sharing around her nudes, and she was like what 13 back then. She took her own life as a result of that, and you know there was a lot of. I remember there was a lot of disgusting discourse. You know, people saying she deserved what happened to her. I don't feel sorry. She should have known better to have not shared her nudes online. It's like you're talking about a fucking someone who was barely in their fucking teen years. Like it's fucking disgusting victim blaming. Yeah, sure, it wasn't a wise decision to post her nudes and send it to some stranger online, but like that still doesn't warrant getting a shitload of harassment because of a mistake you made at such a young age, and said harassment was so bad that you took your own life because of it. Before January 2015, we kept moving around to different various rentals in my hometown. Oh, I see. What was that like? And is Christian basically the reason why neurodivergents have a bad reputation? Bad reputation online, yeah. Christian has a lot to do with that. The harassment she has received. You know, a lot. She was basically the fucking uh, like the almost like the caricature of autistic people online, or a lot of people wanted to make it seem like she was the caricature of autistic people online because she was the subject of like what, a 20+ year harassment campaign at this point. And that's and as a result of that, other autistic people or people who are visibly neurodivergent um receive a lot of harassment because they're neurodivergent, because a lot of people online associate you know neurodiversity with like Chris Chan and other people of the sort. Like, again, I know Chris Chan is actually a reprehensible person. Not to say like she is completely innocent. Not to say like she's an innocent angel or anything. I mean, again, she look at what she did with her mother a few years ago. That again, I'd rather not delve into in this stream, but also like that doesn't excuse the fact that she was still is the subject of a 20+ year online harassment campaign. Like, you also have to levy some blame to the trolls who have dedicated probably most of their lives at this point to trolling Chris Chan. What a fucking life you must lead, by the way. I mean, wasn't it? Didn't Chris Chan wasn't Chris Chan goaded into doing what she did to her mother because of some fucking uh because of some fucking troll online was trying to fucking tell her to do what she ended up doing to her mother. I mean, again, what she did was reprehensible. She obviously still has a lot, obviously does still have a lot of the blame for what she did end up doing. But I believe there were also trolls like cheering her on and saying to, telling her to do what she did. Like, it ain't 2014 anymore. Yeah, but there's a disturbing amount of people online who are stuck in the mid 2010s and want things to be exactly like how they were back then here online. I'm gonna take a bong grip, have fun. And it doesn't help that there are some people that say shit like bring back bullying or say fatherless to LGBT people, goths, etc., and possibly neurodivergent people too. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. There's a lot of people online who condone bullying and say, Well, bullying helps build character and helps toughen you up, which is so fucking stupid. I mean, there are countless examples spanning across decades showcasing why bullying is a bad thing and what bullying can lead to. Like, suicide, for example, what happened, what apparently happened with this Michaela person. Sorry for my rambling in chat. I just have so much to say about bullying. Well, I ramble every time I do these streams. I think it's only fair for chatters to ramble as well. Boogie made a Francis video a few weeks ago, and it hasn't even hit 100K views. It also has a lot of dislikes. Well, don't all of Boogie's videos at this point get more dislikes than likes? I mean, it's not like he's the wholesome, nice guy on YouTube anymore, and he hasn't been that for almost 10 years at this point. People have long since saw through the ruse and know that Boogie is a shitbag. Does he even have any real fans anymore? I'd imagine all of his audience at this point are just hate watchers or former fans who know that he's a piece of shit now but just want to watch the train wreck. Hello, Olin. How are you doing? When we address the problem, we're called crybabies, insensitive, or saying shit like womp womp. It pisses me off and makes me anxious. Yeah. Unfortunately, to a lot of the internet, showing empathy is somehow weakness or seen as pansy like and dumb shit like that. It's really disturbing how so much of the internet just lacks basic empathy and makes fun of people for having basic empathy. Because a lot of people on the internet are stuck on like that 2009 mindset where everyone has to be an asshole online, have no empathy for each other, everyone has to shit talk each other, when it really doesn't have to be like that. I mean, you can be a decent person online. It's just that you can't be fucked to do that and take advantage of the anonymity you are given online to be an asshole, when I am more than certain you are not like that in real life and would not say shit to a person's face that you would say to them to the safety of, being behind a monitor and a keyboard. I mean, I used to have that mindset. I mean, look at a lot of the videos I made as a teenager. I was a lot more harsh on my videos than I am now. I had the mindset of, well, it's the internet. I'm allowed to be an asshole, and everyone should be an asshole online because that's just the nature of the internet. My mom's house was built in the 1990s, and when we bought the house in January 2015, the interior looked so ugly, so my mom renovated the house. Oh, the interior of my house, the downstairs, it still looked like the house was. It still looked like the 1970s, basically. And part of this house still does look like we're still in the 70s because not every room in the house has been renovated. So the downstairs, particularly, finally modernized a few years ago. Let me change my position. PlayStation shirt because I really like PlayStation. Now all I need is that blue PlayStation beanie people like to put on top of crying emojis. Or Wojaks, I mean. Womp womp is only used by people who lost the argument or people whose brains aren't mature enough. Well, consider me guilty because I usually like to say womp womp in response to like bad things happening to bad people. R/save a fox snark, I'm assuming, calls out Michaela for supposedly abusing animals for gain. I had a burp coming, but I lost it. And I'm pretty, or hoarding animals, and I'm pretty sure that's not true at all. And no, the foxes weren't anxious. Well, I don't even know who this Michaela person is. I never heard of Save a Fox until someone in my chat brought it up. So I don't know the validity of those claims. Obviously, it's horrible if those claims were true. That doesn't mean this person deserved to, you know, this person should have taken their own life, even if it was true. But I'm going to assume uh, that wasn't true. I now live in an apartment in a more rougher side of town, but only a 5 minute drive to my mom's house. Well, I guess at least you're still close to home. There's an apartment building that's literally right down the street from where I am. Like, not even a minute drive away. There's also a nursing home that is also down the street. Like, Michaela wanted to rescue animals, which is why she founded Save a Fox. Was this Michaela person like a YouTuber or something? A lot of people in my chat seem to really know the ins and outs of this, whatever is going on with this Michaela person. I couldn't imagine being that sick troll. Yeah, Chris did what she did, but trolls telling her to do that is so gross. Yeah, at least one troll did that. Some lady was goading her into doing what she did with her mother. It's just a disgusting situation all around. Like, all parties involved were just fucking disgusting. And I think what she ended up doing was pretty much a culmination of, I'd imagine, her mental health issues worsening because has been the subject of a very long and drawn out harassment campaign. Like, why do you need to know the ins and outs of Chris Chan's life? There are entire communities dedicated to chronicling what goes on in Chris Chan's life, and I can't for the life of me understand why you would care so fucking much. There's a lot of people online who would say the most vile stuff online, and they would never say it to anyone's face in real life. I mean, look at a lot of racists online. You really think they would be saying a lot of the disgusting shit they say about black people to a black person's face? I don't think so. They probably say they would, but you know they really wouldn't. Despite my autism, I was never bullied a lot, maybe teased a bit in elementary school, though I still struggled with a lot with socializing. Yeah, fortunately, I have never had a problem with bullying either. I mean, like you, I have been teased on some occasions, and there was never like a persistent problem or anything. I did have trouble with socializing a lot. I had trouble making friends. I was just fortunate enough to have friends who came to me, not to brag or say I'm like hot shit or anything, but yeah, and in high school especially, I mean, I befriended one kid who started talking to me first, and then he introduced me to a bunch of other kids in the school, and from those other kids, I got to know other people. I'm really fortunate in that regard, and a lot of those people I still keep in touch with today, including the first kid I befriended who introduced me to all these people. The downside to that, though, was that kid was a year older than me. A lot of the people he introduced me to were a year older than me. So by the time I was a senior, they had all already graduated, and I didn't really talk to many people in senior year. So I kind of had a hollow end to high school, but whatever. I'm just more glad that high school is behind me now. I still like what that one teacher that I never liked said to all of us one time in senior year. The teacher I have talked about so many times in so many school rant videos, the economics and government teacher I had in senior year. He was also my history teacher in freshman year. I remember him saying to us in senior year, because the class was acting up, and it was one of those times he was holding us after class to scream at us and lecture us. He was like, "Oh, get ready when you go to college. You're going to be missing high school so much." And I have finished college, and I can't say at any point during college I ever missed middle school. I didn't miss middle school either, but I didn't miss high school at all. Had a lot more freedom in college that I didn't have in high school, and I would not trade that to go back to high school. No, thank you. Also, I'm tired of Gen Xers saying how tough they are and how they don't have gluten free shit. Like, I feel like you're tearing down people with allergies. Well, I mean, that's the mentality with a lot of older people. You know, any perceived empathy or any hardship they think, any hardship that younger generations take seriously, that their generation didn't. We're seen as like weak and pansies, and we need to toughen up and all that. It's toxic masculinity at the end of the day, or a rugged individualistic mindset, where you think you can just toughen out your problems and face them head on with the help of no one or any outside factor, when, not all problems are solved that way. It's not it's not weakness to ask for help. It's not weakness to take things that weren't taken seriously previously more seriously now. And again, like I said, it's a toxic, overly macho mindset. With men especially, obviously, you know, asking for help is seen as weak. You just need to toughen everything out. It's stupid, and it's a mindset. Unfortunately, my dad drilled into me when I was a kid. He's a lot better these days. I mean, he's more, um, he's definitely more left wing than he was back then. I mean, he even admitted to me a lot of the things he said to me as a kid was bullshit. So he's definitely mellowed out a lot in recent years. You know how people say autistic people like trains and Sonic? That's how I am with collecting bongs and collecting video games. Well, I don't collect bongs. I was a video game collector up until like 2 or 3 years ago with GameCube games, but at this point, I have pretty much every GameCube game I want. I still do get GameCube games sometimes. Now I just get games that aren't that I think are interesting and want to give a try. Not games I necessarily feel like I have to get. There, it's a must-have game for me because, like I said, I already have all the must-have GameCube games, or at least must-have games to me in my collection. So now I'm just, you know, getting cheaper and more obscure GameCube titles that aren't necessarily revered but still interest me enough to try. Um, some of them I've really liked, like the game Killer 7, for example. Very weird and out there game, but that game is, at least in my opinion, a lot of fun, and the weirdness just adds to the charm of the game. Some other games, though, yeah, I didn't really care for all too much. Like, there's a game called Blood Rain, for example. I remember reading a synopsis for that game. The GameCube subreddit really likes that game, or at least some people in the GameCube subreddit really liked that game. And one person said, "You're like this hot vampire lady killing Nazis," and I was like, "Oh, cool." And I tried the game, and yeah, it is exactly that. You're this vampire lady killing Nazis, and the it is vampire lady with early 2000s goth fashion, and it's set in like the fucking 1930s, and you're killing Nazis, which I found kind of amusing, but I didn't think the game was all that special in the end, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't really get the whole trains and Sonic thing. I mean, I guess it's a stereotype. It is a stereotype, I should say. I do know that a lot of autistic people, especially like trains. But me personally, I've never cared about trains. I've never cared about Sonic. I've played a few Sonic games, but I didn't really care for them all too much. Though I still do want to try out the Sonic Adventure games someday. The ones that were ported over to the GameCube. I hear good things about those games, and I haven't completely given up on Sonic yet. I do want to try out those games, but all in all, yeah, like I said, never cared about Sonic all too much, never cared about trains all too much. I remember seeing a video in my YouTube feed a few months ago that had like 2 million views, and it was titled something like um, The Connection Between Autistic People and Sonic or whatever. And I was like, there's no connection with me. I'm on the spectrum and I never cared about Sonic. Boogie has not had positive subscriber growth since 2018. He loses subscribers every day. Yeah, that was around the time his downfall began, right? That was around the time he had his divorce, right? That was when the tides began turning on him because I'm pretty sure his wife played a role in video making. I think she wrote scripts for him, and I mean, I know she helped make the Francis videos. I think he said before that she helped script those videos, and people have said the Francis videos especially, have gotten bad after the divorce. So it really goes to show that his wife played a big role in making the channel good in the first place. And she seemed to really keep him in line. I don't think he was doing any of the reckless spending until she was out of the picture. And obviously, he wasn't, having his public freakouts or, you know, destroying his image like he has been doing ever since the divorce. He kept up that wholesome, nice guy persona until the divorce happened. Boogie loses 10,000 subscribers every month, every other month. Hmm. I'm sure he lost a lot more than 10,000 subscribers when the when it was exposed that he was lying about having cancer. I wasn't exactly the asshole, but I was a dumb 10-year-old. I bullied a 20-year-old all because he hates a show I like. I mean, I can't imagine being age 20 being bullied by a 10-year-old. I mean, if a 10-year-old online approaches me, I'm blocking them immediately. I have no interest and no business talking to someone that young online. I mean, I had a whole army of 10-year-olds get mad at me for a video I made like 10 years ago, or almost 10 years ago at this point, on a channel called Infinite Lists. He made some videos going after haters, and to my knowledge, I was never one of those haters featured in any of his videos, but they still flocked to my video in droves, and I got like 100 comments every day from angry 10-year-olds telling me to die and saying all this other really disgusting shit. And not that it got to me, it just got so fucking annoying. Like having my comments be, littered with all these dumb kids. And they would even go on videos of mine that had nothing to do with them, commenting about how upset they are with me that I called out a YouTuber they really like. And it got to the point where I was like, all right. I mean, I don't want to delete this video. I mean, I don't know if I stand by everything I said in that video, but I still didn't want to delete it. I still thought it was an enjoyable video, so I just changed the title, changed the thumbnail. And that seemed to have worked because I did that like what 5 or 6 years ago, and I haven't gotten any comments from any angry 12, any angry 10-year-olds since I did that. My mouth is really dry. That's why I'm having trouble speaking. I really should bring up a drink with me before I do these streams, but I always forget to do that. So every time I end these streams, I have cotton mouth and my throat hurts a little because I'm just never gotten used to talking for this long. Over an hour, almost 2 hours at this point. Wow. My house was built in 1929. Wow. This house, the one I live in, and all the other houses in this neighborhood, the houses are connected. My house is one of 5 houses that are connected to each other on this side of the cul-de-sac. Um, these houses in my area were built in the 60s, and my grandmother and my grandfather were the first owners of this house. And, my family is still here. I think we're the last original family in this neighborhood. And I was no stranger to saying the R and N words, lol. I didn't know what the R slur meant. The ableist R slur? Well, I can't think of any other R slur besides that one. At least not at the top of my head. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm guilty of saying the N word a lot during my teen years, and it's something I'm not proud of. I mean, I've talked about that a lot on this channel, how stupid I was back then. I mean, I did take down that one stupid video I made years ago justifying the usage of the N word, hard R, and saying we need to take the power out of this word. Me, a white guy, saying that. So fucking stupid looking back at it. But, I know there are probably plenty of other videos that have me saying that word in the video. I have 1,500 videos on this channel, so I really don't feel like fucking scanning through all of those videos to find any problematic content in it and taking down those videos because of said problematic content. Don't have that kind of time, nor do I really want to do that. Um, but I'm just of the mindset of I made those videos. Yeah, I'm not proud of a lot of the videos I made back then, but I can't change the fact that I did make them. And so I don't really see much of a point in taking down those videos because, I kind of like having a channel that, goes back to when I was age 13, that chronicles a whole bunch of opinions I had during my teen years that, I may or may not still hold today, and reflective of mindsets that I've long since grown out of. Not many people have such a thing in their lives, and I kind of like having that. I could look back at old videos I made and, reflect on how much my mindset on a given topic has changed throughout the years. It's always been something interesting to me. My mom's house was built in 1999. Hmm. My apartment I live in right now was built in 1975. I see. There used to be an abandoned nursing home in my town too, but the city demolished it to make room for houses. I think I've mentioned this before in past streams, but right by my high school, there is an abandoned mental health facility that I think was shut down in the 80s. I think that place was exposed for being abusive towards patients, and I think that's why the place closed down, or at least that's what my mom told me. But that place, that abandoned facility has sat there ever since it closed down almost 40 years ago at this point, or maybe it has been 40 years by this point. I don't know the exact year it closed down. I just know that it apparently shut down in the 80s. Never been demolished, never repurposed into anything else, just been this vacant, creepy, abandoned mental health facility that's been sitting there with overgrown grass in front of it. I'm sure that place has turned into like a hangout for people to do drugs in or whatever. Neurodivergent people getting teased or bullied possibly because of Chris Chan is like being racist to black people because all because of ghettos, gangsters, thugs, etc. Yeah, I mean um it's a stupid stereotype that, all autistic people are like, the autistic screeching stereotype where they freak out over the littlest things, or they're easy to provoke, when obviously autistic people are not a monolith. We're not all the same. We don't react the same to you know certain things. But like I said, unfortunately, a lot of people online think of neurodivergent people as like a source of entertainment, like their lol cows meant to be made fun of because of the mental health issues they have, and they may not react the best to the harassment they receive online. They may freak out easily, and these, really stupid people take advantage of that and provoke the person even further. I've always found that shit to be really disgusting. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say always. I think I found stuff like that to be mildly amusing when I was a teenager. I mean, fuck. There was an autistic kid that me and other kids did kind of bully back then. We would make jokes at his expense because he was very noticeably neurodivergent. And of course, that's very shameful behavior that I regret now. But the last several years, I found that behavior to be very disgusting, and it's so disturbingly prevalent here online, and I hate that so much. One time, some random chick I didn't know screamed "Hey, sexy" at me out of nowhere in an intersection while they were driving, and I was crossing the street. Yeah, I don't like shit like that, regardless if it's a man or a woman doing that. It's just weird and gross. I don't like catcalling in general. Whoa, the chat just scrolled all the way to the bottom for some reason. I lost my place. Ugh, hate it when it does that. It's mostly because Gen Xers were kids independent from their parents and took risks. The reason younger generations were constantly looked down on because they were mostly raised by helicopter parents. Well, yeah, there needs to be a healthy balance, in my view. I mean, you can't, dictate everything your kid does or have a say in everything your kid does. You need to let them have, their own breathing space and allow them to make their own decisions and own risks for themselves. And there also needs to be a healthy amount of, encouraging your kid to do the right thing and pointing them in the right direction. But you can't control every aspect of their lives. But I think younger generations in general are more empathetic and more aware of things that older generations weren't aware of, and how certain things can impact people, and take things more seriously that weren't taken very seriously by previous generations. And I don't think that should be seen as weakness or anything. I think that should be seen as younger generations just having more empathy in general, and that's absolutely a good thing. Like, we should have more care for one another. We shouldn't have this, toxic, rugged, individualistic mindset where, we need to just toughen out all of our problems. Everyone needs to handle their problems by themselves. It's just a stupid mindset. That is a video topic I've been thinking about making. The rugged, individualistic mindset that I've talked about a couple of times in this stream. Maybe I'll make that video someday. I don't know. There are a lot of ideas that I have written down on my phone. On my notes app, I have one note that is completely dedicated to video ideas spanning back to, I think, 2020. I have a whole bunch of topics there that I've yet to make into videos. I want to get Banjo Kazooie on the N64. I thought you already had Banjo Kazooie. Oh wait, no, that's Conquer. You already have Conquer's Bad Fur Day. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, I've heard endless good things about Banjo Kazooie. Never played it actually. I think they had it on the Wii U's Virtual Console, and they probably have it on the Switch's online expansion pack. But fuck that, I don't feel like paying for that. Maybe I'll emulate it someday. Or who knows, maybe someday I'll get my hands on an N64. It's not a console I have any inclination to get, but if for whatever reason someday I do wind up owning an N64, that would probably be one of the first games I get for it, because again, I've heard endless good things about Banjo Kazooie. I preferred Mario over Sonic as a kid. Oh, same, big time. My first Mario game was Mario Bros. On the DS, New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, because there was one birthday party I went to. It was my cousin's birthday. I think it was her 10th birthday, I believe. She's a year older than me, so this was back in 2010. We played New Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, and I didn't own a Wii at the time, but I played it with her and a few of her friends, and we were having such a fun time. And I already owned a DS back then, but I didn't own any Mario game. And I, I ended up getting the DS version of the game, and that's still my favorite version of the game. I still like the DS version more than the Wii version. I remember getting the DS port of Mario 64 a few months after that. It was actually when I got the DSi XL. I got that. They were giving away two games for free, and I had a choice between Mario 64 and I believe one of the Cooking Mama games. Yeah, it was a no-brainer. I was about 10 years old when I first found your channel. Oh, wow. How long ago was that? I mean, I remember when I was like 14, I had a lot of, there were some kids younger than me when I was, that were watching my videos because I primarily made Miiverse videos back then. And surprise, surprise, when you make a whole bunch of videos about a children's social media app, those videos are bound to attract children. At least back then, I was still a minor myself, unlike someone like, OBA, who had no problem being a guy in his 20s talking to a bunch of 11, 12 year olds, or sometimes even younger than that, 9 or 10-year olds. Yeah, that's not weird at all. Having people in that age range comprise, a big chunk of your fan base, and you're talking to people in that age range on like a daily basis. And again, a children's social media app. There were plenty of red flags even back then that I was completely oblivious to. Now I'm turning 19 in 5 months. So you've been watching me for about 9 years then. Well, if I remember right, Boogie at one point even joked about taking his dog to the pound to be euthanized. Well, I don't really see the humor in something like that. Boogie's just all in all a disgusting person. One time I wrote a comment on YouTube and someone got mad at me so much they kept spamming my comments on my channel. What were you commenting? What's your favorite non-alcoholic drink? I did mention earlier in this stream, I think before you joined, that I really like orange juice. Love orange juice. It's my main beverage. Hello, Mikey. Hello, Dylan. How are you doing? The R word doesn't really bother me as someone on the spectrum, not saying how others should feel about it. Well, you're free to feel how you feel about the word. I just personally really don't like it, as it's been a word that has been commonly used to dehumanize people on the spectrum and neurodivergent people in general for decades now. And I'd rather not have that word in my vernacular, or people using that word, or have people using that word in, you know, spaces I'm in, like my Discord server and such. My YouTube account is older than your oldest video. My channel was made in January 2014. Oh, wow. Yeah, I started uploading on this channel 4 months after that, May 31st. The 11-year anniversary just passed almost a month ago. 11 years and I'm still here. I have to be like the last Miiverse channel that's still regularly making videos, right? Obviously, OBA got arrested. Giga Gambi abandoned his channel like 6 years ago or something like that. Dude got married, I heard. Probably has kids now. I don't know. He has a life, so he's not making his little comedy skit videos anymore. And obviously, he can't make the Miiverse videos anymore. And there are a lot of other channels that were around back then that I think have since wiped all their videos off their channels or outright deleted their channels. But I'm still here, still making videos. Obviously, videos that have nothing to do with Miiverse. But I'm still around, still regularly uploading. Wow. Next month will be 10 years since Satoru Iwata passed away. Yeah, that's true. July. Mid-July. I'm sorry, I forget the exact day he passed away. Yeah, I remember when I first heard about that. I think it was my friend Justin who told me about that. An old Miiverse friend that I still talk to this day. Makes tech content now. Yeah, I remember. I think I was talking to him on Miiverse. We were having a conversation, and then he brought up in the middle of the conversation out of nowhere. Oh my! It was like, oh wow, Tori Wada died, and I was like, what? I thought he was bullshitting me at first, and I remember I was in the car with my family. We just ate at a restaurant, and we're on our way home from the restaurant and I was visibly, I like fucking audibly gasped. I remember my family asking me what was wrong, and well, I mean, obviously, none of my family knows who the fuck Satori Wada was, so I was just like, oh, it's nothing. I hiccuped or something. I made something up, and they're like, oh, all right, but yeah, that was shocking when I first heard about that. My house was built in 1968, according to a certain realtor website. My house was built sometime in, I think, the mid 60s. I don't know. I gotta check I could probably find the date, probably on whatever realtor site you looked at, but I don't remember the exact year. I think my house was finished in the late 60s actually, but my grandmother and father didn't. My grandmother and grandfather didn't buy it until 1970. So I think this house was vacant until, well, it was vacant until they bought it because they were the original owners. And like I said, we're probably the only OG family left in the neighborhood. Toby Maguire turned 50 today. He plays or played Spider-Man, right? In those old Spider-Man movies from like 2000, 2001. I remember seeing the first one a couple of times. My school would show it, and I think reruns would play a lot on some channels. But all no, I never cared about superhero stuff outside of the Spider-Man games, like the PS4 Spider-Man game and Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 from a few years ago. I like those games, and I'll might play whatever Wolverine game Insomniac, the same studio that made the Spider-Man games I mentioned, is working on. Maybe. I'm gonna leave soon here, just waiting for my chats to be read. Yeah, I'm gonna head out soon too when I reach 2 hours and 4 minutes. So once I reach the bottom of this chat, I'm gonna head out. No, I only have Conker's Bad Fur Day right now. Is that the only N64 game you own? I have an N64, OG Xbox, Xbox 360, and a Game Boy Advance. I never owned a Game Boy Advance. Well, the only Game Boy, well, what is technically a Game Boy that I own is the Game Boy player that sits right under my GameCube that I have a few games for. It has all the same internals as a Game Boy, which is cool. So it's not just the GameCube emulating Game Boy games, it's actually authentic hardware. What's especially cool about that add-on is you get two god tier console intros in a row. You get the GameCube's intro, and then immediately after that, when you have the Game Boy player disc in the GameCube, you get the Game Boy Advance intro, which is also a stellar console intro, one of my favorites. Probably my favorite intro for a handheld console. Doing good. That's good. I forgot, honestly, because he deleted his entire channel, so I can't find it. The whoever was commenting on your channel. I remember when OBA cried in his video covering Iwata's death. Yeah, for as much shit as I gave OBA back then, I did remember giving that video a like, and I think I commented under that video, actually. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put aside the whole feud I have with you, and I'm gonna say, I respect that you made this video. I wasn't expecting you to make a video like this in light of Satoru Iwata's death, so credit where credit is due. And I think he blocked me right after I posted that because I remember I tried commenting a few times on my main channel with on his last video, but none of the comments went through. And I can't find that comment I left under his video, so I think he probably deleted it and blocked me. Yep, he played Spider-Man. He was also in the Great Gatsby movie adaptation as Nick Carraway. Never watched any of the Gatsby movie adaptations, but I have read the book. I also have Mario 64 and Diddy Kong Racing. I've played OG Mario 64 a few times on the Wii U. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I like the DS version a lot more than the original. All the new content added really elevates that port for me. All right, final chat message. Jan Sala. Hey, been a while, just popping in to say hi. Now you're gonna make me feel guilty for heading out, but I've been streaming for over 2 hours. I did say once I reached the bottom of the chat that I'm heading out, so unfortunately I can't stay here and talk with you, and I actually can't stream for much longer anyway because I have to run out and do errands. So yeah, I'm sorry if I seem like an asshole. Reading that comment saying hi and then saying, "Oh well, I gotta leave now." Beyond my control, unfortunately. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. On that note, yeah. Stream over. This was a very fun stream, very active stream. I think more active than the previous stream, and yeah, I'll stream sometime in July. Hopefully, it won't take me over a month to stream again, like it did this time around. Yeah, no more rambling from me. You'll be spared from any further rambling from me now. Take care and peace out.